Welcome to That's the Word, wholesome tales for the whole family. I'm Father James Yamauchi. Today's story, Catch Him If You Can. Say goodbye to your skin, the fugitive thought as he left the meeting. Waiting for him were two men loitering at the street corner. The fugitive knew they were there for him. But he knew that the best way to control the situation was to make the first move. He walked up to them and asked for a match for a cigarette. "Get one over there," one of them gruffly responded, jerking his thumb towards a store across the street. The fugitive did so. As he stepped into the store, however, his pursuers followed him. This is really it, he thought. He got what he needed and left the store, his pursuers still following him. However, the fugitive was not going to prison today. He hailed a cab and his pursuers did the same. The two cabs moved off in a slow chase. With some carefully crafted questions, the fugitive determined that the cab driver was on his side. He opposed the government and was willing to help. The fugitive thanked him and worked quickly. He took off his cap and put it into his pocket and pulled off his jacket so that his white shirt showed. As he changed, he instructed the cab driver to slow down after rounding the next corner, then speed up and drive off. The cab driver simply nodded. As the cab rounded the corner, the fugitive leapt out, slamming himself onto the pavement. Quickly scrambling to his feet, he leaned up against a tree in plain sight of the road, trying to act as nonchalant as the adrenaline pumping through him would allow. The cab sped off into the night. The other cab quickly followed around the corner. The fugitive was in plain sight of his pursuers, but they took no notice of a sleepy pedestrian waiting for a bus. It was only after that cab had sped into the night that the fugitive felt the pain in his side from the fall. This was just another close call for a man wanted by the law and by the state. A man wanted by his own country for refusing to follow laws unjustly enacted therein. He lived every day in constant danger, but he went about his duty anyway, serving those people who lived under this regime. In the end, the authorities caught up with him. He was executed without a trial. The government had ordered pictures to be taken of him during his execution to demonstrate the cowardice of these men who opposed the regime. But instead, what the cameras captured was a man willing to die for a cause in which he so strongly believed, facing the firing squad without a blindfold. In defiance of the government, tens of thousands of people flooded the streets for his funeral. These faithful kept this man's memory alive to this day. A man who was quick with a practical joke, and equally as quick to fall to his knees in prayer. A man of faith and of unmatched bravery, who served the people of Mexico during the reign of one of the most anti-Christian regimes ever seen in history. A martyr and a priest named Blessed Miguel Pro. And for this week, that's the word. I have a confession to make. Actually, John Peter and I both have a confession to make. Because when you think of Mexico, you think of a very Christian country, especially in the modern era. And so there was a period of time, as alluded to in the story, where it was very anti-Christian in terms of the ruling class. And I just don't know the history of how that came to be. And so that's something we can research. Or if somebody knows the elevator speech version of that or a nice link, please send us an email, which you can find or Facebook us on our podcast social links.
sonsofthunderrock.com.
What we can say is that Blessed Miguel Pro had a great sense of humor, a great wit, and he was able to use that in a very difficult time for Catholics, and especially Catholic priests, to be able to evade the authorities and those unjust laws, and to ensure that he was serving the people of God during a very difficult time.
This story we told here is just one of quite a few stories of his narrow escapes from the authorities. There's another story where he's running down the street from literally guys who are going to haul him away, police. He turns a corner, sees a young woman walking down the street. So he grabs her by the arm and whispers to her, "I'm a priest, please help me." Turns out she was Catholic, fortunately for him. So when the police round the corner, they run by this cute young couple walking arm in arm, whispering to each other and giggling. And not the fugitive priest who they were just chasing a moment ago.
And of course, what's most famous about Blessed Miguel Pro, we alluded to it in the story about how they wanted to have his execution very public in order to show priests are cowards. And instead, we know, thanks to the public nature of this ceremony, which you can look online and see the picture of when he's about to be executed. But there's a very famous line that he says right before he is martyred: "Viva Cristo Rey, long live Christ the King."
If you enjoy That's the Word, please share the word. You can sign up for our weekly newsletter at sonsofthunderrock.com. That's also where you can find our social links in our email. If you want to send us feedback, give us story ideas, or tell us why Mexico was so anti-Catholic in those days. And if you want to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, we appreciate that. I'm told that it helps us out and helps the podcast get to more people, but at a minimum, it'll make me and Father James feel nice.
Absolutely. Thanks again for listening, and join us next week for another wholesome tale for the whole family.